Blanca is with us this morning. It is such a pleasure. I've never had the pleasure of meeting you face to face. It is such a thrill.
Here I am. Thank you guys so much for having me here.
I am such a fan. Oh my gosh.
Lies.
I love how she's like dancing. She's excited.
I got excited. We started talking about candy, and then I'm drinking coffee, so I'm already like, I'm ready to go.
So we've got you sugared and caffeine jacked up.
That's how you do it here in the Caleb Studios.
That's how we do it.
Always. You're defined as a powerhouse vocalist. How would you define yourself?
Oh, man. That's a good question. I'm like, my ears got hot.
What does that mean? Your ears got hot?
I don't know. It was like, ooh, never thought of how would I define myself? Would I say powerhouse vocalist, or would I just say a girl who's sings from her heart and tries her best? But I don't know that I would have said powerhouse vocalist. I don't know. That's a hard question to describe. If you were to describe yourself in one kind of sentence of what you would be on air.
Yeah.
Well, it's
That's
like,
and you want and you don't want
God's
to be
experiment.
you don't want to be over the top. I mean,
you gotta
like
be humble.
Yeah.
But still honest.
I just refer to you generally as the walking vocal cord. There's a lot of power. Were your parents, there had to have been a lot of music in your family growing up.
Well, my dad was a salsero, which is a Spanish kind of salsa singer.
No.
Yes. And he did salsa Christian music in Puerto Rico. So yeah, that's where I get all my like spunk is from my dad. He was charismatic and loving, and just like he showed up and everyone knew the party is started now. My mom could not sing to save her life. And she was the shyest human. So she would always just like sit back and smile and watch, you know, kind of either with my dad or with me kind of have that charismatic, outgoing personality.
Was there a song that your daddy always sang to you, or that you think of immediately when you think of your dad?
Yes.
What song?
So my dad, he would always call and sing Stevie Wonder. I just called to say I love you.
Come on.
And then he had a thick Spanish accent, so it always sounded like just the cutest thing ever. So anytime we danced to that on my wedding day, it was with that song. And whenever I hear it, I just immediately think about him.
Absolutely. And your father was very instrumental in your coming to Christ and living the life, because he had a pretty wild past.
He did. My dad, we didn't grow up in kind of a Christian home. My dad had a crazy past, and he was into just drugs and gangs and had a rough upbringing. He's one of 15 brothers and sisters.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
And so he kind of lost his way. And then my parents split when I was about 7 years old. And the crazy thing, I always love to share my story because my dad came back into the picture when I was a young teenage girl. And he was the first person in my family who gave his life to Christ. So he had this God moment and showed up at our house, asked for forgiveness. And his request was to be able to take me and my brother to church with him on the weekend. So my mom allowed us to start going to church with my dad, and I would hear his testimony, and he would start singing, and
oh boy,
you know, and I was just like, whatever he's talking about gotta be real, because I've seen this transformation in him. And so I ended up giving my life to the Lord at 17 years old with my dad there. So he walked me to the front. We watched a play. Like, he took me to go see a play on heaven and hell. And I was just like, I'm ready for this. And the redemption story of like being able to walk to the altar
goodness.
with my dad holding my hand is just like, God, you're in the business of healing it all. So yeah.
And now you're spreading that message to so many others through your most recent song. You sing it with Dante Bowe, the healing. And that's really a lot of what you have personally been going through in your life, because you've recently lost both of your parents. Mm-hmm. You've gone through a divorce. Mm-hmm. There's a lot that you are facing, and the healing, what does that mean to you?
Oh, the healing to me is the God part of the story. Like, we have in everybody's life. There's so much brokenness. Even honest moment, like a second ago, saying I danced at my wedding day with my dad. There was a part of me that's like, oh, should I have not shared that? Like, you see these broken pieces and you try to cover them up, but the healing is what God does with those pieces and how he uses them. It's like, to me, it's like a little scar that we get to show others, like, hey, if you're going through this, look at kind of where it ended up for me and what he did with it. So that's what it is for me.
I think when you take those broken pieces, Ryan Stevenson said that you take those broken pieces of glass, you put them back together, let his light shine through it, and the mosaic it creates is unbelievable. So I'm always about embracing those broken parts. 100%.
I think before the healing, I had a song called Shattered too. And I remember visually seeing, is it Japanese art? I don't know if you've ever seen this, where they take the pottery and when it breaks, they put it back together and they use gold to kind of line the cracks. And then it becomes more special and more like valuable than it did to start with. And I'm like, that's what it's about. Like, seeing how God just takes all the pieces, and even if it doesn't look how it did before, it's still, he works it for the good, and it still has value and purpose.
You talk a lot about how you have insecurities, and I think you kind of mentioned that. And I think of your song, Even at My Worst. And when I wake up some mornings and I look in a mirror and I feel like, how would anybody love me, much less a God loves me for who I am, the ugly and all of it. How have you dealt with or grown through the insecurities that you felt through everything that you have faced?
Man, aside from the Lord and kind of this process that he's taken me on, I think surrounding yourself with people that are willing to call you out by your true identity, and counseling and therapy and the whole 9 yards, just going through that process. But I know something that I take with me everywhere is through some of my counseling sessions, she would start and say, what is the story you're telling yourself? And I think to approach every situation, and when you start feeling like I'm broken, or brokenness follows me, these are the things that I tell myself. I'm unworthy, I'm unlovable, all these things that I've gone through. But to say, the story I'm telling myself is this. And then she would say, and can you absolutely, positively tell me that that is true? And you can't. Like, you can't do it. If you to say you're unlovable, can you prove to me that that is true? There's not possible. So then you have to kind of pull the layers back and say, so what is truth in this?
Yeah.
And that's been what's helped me through this journey, because life is not hard, but kind of continuing that process of always turning back to what is true in your story is necessary.
What is a statement that you have continually had to tell yourself when you're telling yourself your own story?
Like in terms of that?
Yeah, like, do you have to remind yourself, I am accepted, I am loved? What is the one thing that you struggle with the most?
That's exactly it. I think the biggest thing that I've told myself is that I'm unworthy of some extent, God's love. I've messed up, or this is not how I intended my life to go. So at some point, like, I'm not worthy of his love. And so I've constantly had to go back and be like, but what's true in that? Like, is that how God works? Is it that you have to earn it and prove yourself? Like, no. So why are you striving so hard to almost not accept it?
You are speaking my life. Yeah, everything about that is speaking to my life. And even at my worst, the first time I heard it, I cried. I'm not going to lie to you, because I'm like, she is singing about me. And what I want to say thank you for is embracing the idea of counseling, because we mental health is so important. We talk to people all the time, and there's still a cloud that hangs over that, and people are very Christ-based, Christian-based counseling is a godsend, literally.
I 100% agree. And even, let me tell you, for that process for me, there is a sense of like, you look at your faith journey and you say, did I miss it in some way? Like, is my faith not strong enough that I can't believe it on my own, just from prayer or just from these things that are great tools, but God created all these other tools for us to use to help us through this journey of life. So it's like, it's not about questioning my faith and whether I'm strong enough or I'm good enough. Again, it's that same story, but more so saying, God, I'm going to look at everything that you're bringing my way, whether it is mental health, physical health, things that are going to help me be whole. And I want to use all of these tools for the process of life and this journey of healing.
Your songs every day are encouraging people. If you had a message to encourage somebody right now who questions their worthiness and questions who they are in the Lord, what would you say to them?
I would first say, you're not alone. And that's such a statement we hear all the time. But I know for me, when I'm able to sing something like Even at My Worst, and I see someone in the crowd with tears in their eyes or connecting, and that sense of, we're in this together. I'm not alone in this process and in this feeling. So I would first look at that person and say, you are not alone in this. And you are not too far from the love of God. The biggest thing that I've learned through it is that nothing is wasted. Nothing is wasted. He'll use every tear, every prayer, every broken part, and he uses it for the good. In some way, he makes it better. So you'll see with time. Let my life be a testimony of how he works all things together.
I have to ask, how much fun was it with you and Dante Bowe doing the healing?
Oh,
that guy.
His glasses, sunglasses, and he's looking styling.
He is like, he's a cool guy. I was going to say, he's the GOAT. He's just like, he comes, he's swaggy, his voice is amazing, but he's like, I've never had that type of interaction with him. Like, we've seen each other and I've done stuff with Maverick City before, but to be on set at the music video, I was like a little bit intimidated or nervous. Like, how is this going to go? But I don't know if you guys have gotten a chance to like,
bit.
Just a little, like the sweetest guy and so encouraging. And he was like, Blanca, this is your year. This is your season. You're going to do great. Like, just encouraging me on the set of the music video. And I'm like, you came all this way to do this with me. But I had, it was a full circle moment for me, because it's crazy when you have a vision of something and then you're living in it and you're seeing it come to life. It's like being able to really take that in I had tears in my eyes during the set, because I'm like, I wrote that song during COVID and it was in my house by myself, like with my phone, laying down some ideas, and then to record it and say, can you imagine if like Dante or someone from Mav City would jump on this song, or, they walked me through my season of divorce. So it was like, that would be crazy to see that come around. Like my story of healing, to have the people that walked me through my healing actually on the song with me.
Oh my goodness.
And when he said, so I reached out to him on Instagram and he was like, send the song. I would love to hear it. I was like, okay. So I sent him the song, didn't hear back. I was like, okay, it's done, dead in the water. Then I'm hosting the red carpet at the Dove Awards for TBN, and his interview comes up to my, section. Yeah. And he tells the camera, hey, everyone, look out for a song that's coming out next year with Blanca and I'll be featuring on her song.
Oh, come on.
And I was like, huh? For real? So that's where he confirmed it. And then to be on set where I like drew out pictures of what I wanted this music video to look like. And for me, it was like this process of things that were dried up and dead coming to life again. So I wanted it to feel like this garden of flowers and things blooming. And so then to be standing in the middle of that with Dante on the set, my next single, I was like, God, you are so good. This is a beautiful moment.
Yay. We're so happy for you. There is such a peace. There's such a joy just being here and standing by you. Oh. And I'm just so excited that you are open and vulnerable enough to share the mess of life. How often do we hide it? I'm guilty of it too. You want to keep all the pretty stuff out for everybody to see, and you keep all the icky stuff inside. But you're such an example to all of us that it's okay to talk about our mess ups, because God's going to use it. And so thank you.
it's necessary, I would say, for all of us in this Christian walk. Like, don't be afraid to share your story, because that's part of it. That's where he turns it for good, when you're able to let it out and not carry that weight, and help others through that journey as well. And with this song, that's what it's about too. It's about the process. It's not about just being like, I'm healed, but no, you're healing me. Like, I'm in the middle of it. We're in the middle of it together. So that's really what I wanted to portray with the song.
Who would your ultimate your hip hop partner be if you could pick? Okay, I know who I'm thinking of. Who would you think of? Ultimate.
Ooh.
You're going to do the CCM hip hop album of the century.
So it's CCM. So people within CCM,
Yeah.
not outside.
Well, okay, who would be
not hip hoppers, because it can't be like KB or,
okay.
We can't use actual hip hoppers to do the hip hop. It got to be someone
CCM.
CCM hip hopper. Help me out. Give me a few.
Well,
top three.
One name came to mind immediately. It's Toby Mac.
Oh, of course.
Yes.
Yeah,
He's the king of,
he can do anything.
He can.
He can do anything.
Toby, you are the true GOAT.
Oh,
Yeah, GOAT is, right?
greatest of all time.
Greatest of all time.
Yeah, well, Dante's going to be a little upset by that because he had that.
He had it, but it was
15
like
minutes ago.
almost the GOAT.
Goat once removed.
Yes.
Yeah, we got it. So that'd be a goat R.
That's why I said, Toby, you are the true GOAT. Like, I clarified.
There you go.
But Dante, you're headed that way.
Yes, you need a little more years.
Yeah.
More, like Toby's
Yeah.
been around for decades.
He has. He's
Well, the goat has to step down at some point.
Yeah.
Maybe someday.
Maybe, not yet.
No.
Man.
It's, I cannot even begin to tell you how much fun it is to have you here. I knew it would be an absolute joy, but thank you so much. You spoke so much to my life through music and through this conversation. Thank you from me.
Oh, thank you so much. I felt it. I feel the love here.
Aw.
So thank you guys for just your honesty and your authenticity. And I had a great time.
Right back at you. And will you teach us dance moves? That's the next part.
She can't
Of
dance.
course.
No.